Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know. It's so in me. Like, I can never shake it off. I think it's just like, even if I've taken long breaks away from rapping and not doing any kind of writing. Do you know what I mean? Before I started doing the emoji, when I did the emoji freestyle thing with my first one, when I started getting active again, that was in 2021. From then before, like, was like the Lazy EP was like 2011. I had like 10 years where I didn't really, I mean, there was actually, I did little freestyles here and there, a few tracks here and there, but it was like very long. I take years out, do you know what I mean? But it always comes itching back, like this feeling. And I think it just boils down to just me as a person. Like, if I think about me, when I really think about it, if I think about me as a child and how I grew up, I was just like, before I was into music, because I don't know about everyone else, but I wasn't really into music like, as a kid. Like, it wasn't until I hit a teenager, when I was, well, I'll say 12 exactly, when I started getting into music. Before then, I didn't really care, but I was still in a creative zone where I would draw and I would write, I would make comics. I would do storytelling. I would create video games. I was just always like with a pencil, like with paper, like endless, like just creating thing after thing after thing after thing. So that has always been like since a kid, and I've always been like, not always, but I was quite a shy kid. I wasn't the most. I'm quite an introvert rather than an extrovert. So I'd always have these kind of things that I did to pass time. You know what I mean? And this was before social media and everything else. So how I'd pass time was drawing, creating comics, playing outside. I mean, when we were playing outside, that was creative as well, because we would like making our own kind of storylines and like playing these kind of like make believe, like, you know what I mean, our versions of kind of the shows that we liked and stuff like that. So I always kind of so yeah, like and then when I started getting into music around the time I was like at 12, I'd say, because that's when I first started writing as well. And I think it was just from, you know, being in my mum's car, my brother being 4 years older, him playing all like rap and garage, that kind of really got me into it. And, you know, all the CDs we would play in my mum's car, like Ludacris, Nas, Stillmatic, all this kind of thing, Dr. Dre, 2001. I mean, this is just era, early 2000s. So this is, and then obviously that was also during the time of radio and pirate radio. And that's when I found out about radio stations like Deja Vu, where like Dizzy Rascal and Wiley used to be on weekly, and I would start taping them with my little tape cassettes, and I would like be obsessed with them since like 12, then 13, 14. Then you're getting into the era of like where you've got LimeWire and you're downloading. I'm on the rap forums. The rap forums is teaching me everything about hip hop. Like, oh, they're teaching me about Gangstar, all these kind of like, oh, like, do you know what I mean? Like all these groups that I didn't learn about in school, but then in the forums they're talking about, oh, this thing. So I kind of like, almost like I studied it, like the hip hop and like what goes back into it. And then you're creating like this love, just making these huge libraries, you know what I mean? Filling up my computer with LimeWire, downloading, like I was obsessed with music, do you know what I mean? And I've always loved collecting things, and like that music became my biggest collection, do you know what I mean? And still to this day, now it's gone to the streaming era, which is a weird kind of change for me, because I had such a big library of actual files from iTunes and all that stuff and Windows Media Player. But yeah, and like burning CDs, ripping CDs, you know what I mean? All through my teenage years, I was obsessed with music. And then obviously, as I was doing that, I was trying to write my own lyrics inspired by the rappers that I liked. You know what I mean? First, it was garage, grime. Then, you know what I mean? As I got more into hip hop, I learned about UK hip hop. And then that was a whole nother world that I learned about. And then through that, I learned about this open mic night called Dill Real, where I started going to that at a young age. I think I was like from 16, 15 even. I think,
15, yeah. My notes seem to indicate here it was an open mic in a record store, record club,
yeah,
that sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, record store in Carnaby Street, legendary spot. I started going there when I was 15, and that's where I met Rhyme Asylum, Children of the Damned. A few other people were there. Where I met Measle, Miles, and we became a group. Or where I met Head Trip, where I met my first. Actually, Head Trip was at my school, but he also went to Dill Real. And that was my first crew. It was Great British Hooligans, GBH, and it was me and Head Trip. That's when when I first started recording music, was with Head Trip. And then yeah, man, and then obviously, and then the whole thing with like through going to open mics, going to Dill Real, I got a lot better. Do you know what I mean? That was my first time rapping on on a microphone in a store. Do you know what I mean? Like going on an open mic. So, and then all the ciphers outside were really exciting. Do you know what I mean? Like I was hugely inspired by all of that stuff. So that changed my style even more. And then through that time, I learned about battle rap. I learned about jump off through Dill Real. Do you know what I mean? I'd hear about it. Do you know what I mean? And then started watching it online. Do you know what I mean? When the jump off early sites, I learned about it. I started watching all the Professor Green battles. Then it went on to all the street battles that they started doing. You know what I mean? I remember when that first started with Archaic, What's This Face, all of those guys. And I was just that guy downloading battles every do you know what I mean? As a young kid, I was like, and then I learned about battle rap. I learned about the Scribble Jam battles, Thesaurus. There's so many the world just expands, and all these different interests I've got, they all sort of merge together because I always liked the kind of punchline style raps. Like I was always into like I'm trying to think, Demigods. I really liked, self-titled Apathy. Obviously Big L. Eminem, of course, Big Pun. But I gravitated towards, especially with Big L and people like that, where it was like punchlines and like multi-syllabic rhymes and all this kind of stuff that I really gravitated towards. And then through battle rap, it was even more of that kind of style of lyricism. But it was a lot more freestyle in those days. But by the time I would start Don't Flop and we started recording on our own, do you know what I mean? My style had been crafted to this kind of like punchline kind of style. And then watching when Grind Time started and when King of the Dot started, and then we started Don't Flop at a similar time. So we saw that they were doing these things in America, and it was like, oh, they're doing written battles, you know what I mean? Like, and it's accepted kind of thing. So that was like, we got to do our own type thing. Even though then it was still a bit of like half and half, like have writtens and then also freestyles. But that was kind of like, I was always too scared to jump into freestyle battles. And I very nearly joined the WRCs in 2008, but they didn't do 2008. 2007 was the last one, but I was going to join it in 2008. And then, that's what the same year we started Don't Flop, I guess. But yeah, I was watching Jump Off and go into live battles because I knew Possessed through Dill Real, and then I would meet other guys like Respect BA, Archaic, and then I met all these guys quite early on, and obviously I was watching their battles before, so to them it was like when you said earlier about when you saw me, when I met them for the first time, I'm like, oh my god, like it's Respect BA, or oh my god, it's Archaic, and now they're like my friends, you know what I mean, that I've known for so long.